In our series, Traces of the Past, Arts.21 reporters travel the globe searching for the legacy left to different countries by German Jews. This week, we're in Ukraine, where two young film students are documenting the revival of Jewish culture in their home country.
The Jewish community of Dnipropetrovsk is welcoming a new member. The cameras are rolling. Students Anastasia Grigoryenko and Nikolai Matuchno are filming the circumcision ceremony for a documentary exploring the revival of Jewish life in Ukraine. They hope their film will also raise awareness about Jewish culture. Until recently, even they themselves knew little about issues such as circumcision.
If I hadn't seen it take place and I just heard about it, I would probably have thought, oh my God, circumcision. I would never let this happen to any son of mine. But now that I've seen it done a few times, I understand its significance. I would have my son circumcised.
Home to over 1 million people, Dnipropetrovsk in southeast Ukraine is currently witnessing a return of Jewish life. A few weeks ago, a vast Jewish cultural center opened behind the new synagogue, marking the dawn of a new era for the local Jewish community. Today, Nastya and Kolya are shooting scenes here for one of their short films about Jewish customs and practices. They plan to post the films on the internet. For years, Nastya herself didn't really know what it meant to be Jewish.
I'm actually christened. My mother is Russian Orthodox. But when I learned about history and the genocide, I was so affected that I wanted to become part of the city's Jewish community.
Historically, Dnipropetrovsk was one of the capitals of Jewish life in Eastern Europe until the Holocaust. Like everywhere in Ukraine, Jews here were persecuted and murdered. In 1941, Nazis rounded up over 11,000 Jews on this central square and shot them. The country has never faced up to its past, not least because anti-Semitism long remained rife. Today, Nastya and Kolya are glad they can be open about their faith.
Thankfully, it's no longer something you have to hide. Some people still think that being Jewish is strange, but they don't hate you. They just know nothing about it. For most people, it's an undiscovered secret.
Entrepreneur Mark Shlyak wants to help Ukrainians learn more about the history of Jews in their country. He joined forces with other investors to open the Holocaust Museum in the Menorah Center. This is the first time that the crimes of the Nazi occupiers have been documented in an exhibition in the city. It also shows that they found many locals willing to help them. In total, 1.5 million Ukrainian Jews were murdered. Jewish life was wiped out.
To this day, most of the victims remain unidentified. We're working on it. We're trying to establish the names of the dead. The task becomes harder with every passing year. But we want to do them this final service at least.
Even now, no one in Nastya's family ever talks about their Jewish roots. She still doesn't know how her grandparents managed to survive the Holocaust. In the Soviet Union, many Jews either kept silent or denied their Jewish identity. They continued to suffer persecution and discrimination even after the end of the Second World War. Once home to more than 40 synagogues, Dnipropetrovsk now has only 2. But today the city is once again home to about 50,000 Jews. Nastya and Kolya are meeting to talk about their film project with the senior sofer, or scribe, at what's called the Old Synagogue. In the workshop, his students learn to transcribe Torah scrolls and other scriptural texts called tefillin and mezuzot. Sofer Ruwen Margolin explains to the students how traditionally the words of the Torah are written in Hebrew on parchment with a quill and special ink. Jewish scribal arts have more or less died out in Ukraine, he tells them. These are the only scribes in the country, and these days they have a lot to do.
People are increasingly interested in sacred objects, such as mezuzah and Torah scrolls. We don't only work for the old and the new synagogue here in the city. These days, there are synagogues all over Ukraine, where people are once again reading the Torah. So our job is a very useful one.
The Jewish life, so brutally extinguished by Nazis, is now flourishing in Dnipropetrovsk. This park on the outskirts of town also served as a site for mass killings. Nastya and Kolya are planning to include it in their documentary. They want to ensure that the past is never forgotten.
Sometimes there's rubbish lying around. Obviously, there are some people who have no idea about the significance of the site, who don't see it as important the way we do. I would like that to change.
That's not to say she thinks the site needs police protection. What Nastya and Kolya want is to see Ukrainian society accept Jewish culture as a normal part of everyday life.
Our search for traces of the past continues. In our next installment, we visit South Africa, looking for the German Jewish legacy in Cape Town.